the elementary ideas of Bastian, the psychology of Freud and Jung, the philosophy of Schopenhauer. These are big ideas. Many of us have a surface knowledge of these individuals, yet with Joe we can begin to appreciate the themes common to their work and to the human condition. But these men represent the West. If these ideas are truly universal, what about the rest of the world? What about the East?
Some years ago, I was greatly surprised and interested to learn that in India, the same two aspects of mythological and art forms that Bastian had recognized were recognized as well, namely the elementary and the folk aspects. The folk aspect of an artwork or an image is known as deshi, D-E-S with a stroke over it, I. And deshi means local, provincial, and popular. I think that's an interesting combination of words. The elementary, however, is designated by a term that I find enormously interesting. It's called marga, M-A-R-G-A, the first A, a long A. And marga means the path. It's from a Sanskrit root, mrig, which relates to the trail left by an animal. And the sense of it is that by following the path of the archetypes, the archetypal images, the elementary form or the elementary aspect of the image, you are led to the den of the animal that left the path. And that den is your heart. And the animal is the human animal. You are led inward to yourself by following the path of the archetypes. Now this gives us a clue to the two fundamental aspects of the mythological message. The elementary idea is enclosed in the folk idea. The source of the elementary idea is the human imagination, the human spirit, and its address is to the human imagination, the human spirit. The folk inflection relates specifically to the sociology of the local culture. The elementary idea is enclosed in the folk system. The rituals of the folk consequently also enclose the elementary instruction, the elementary idea. The young person growing up and being trained in the ritual life and moral order of the society is at the same time being introduced to the elementary ideas which are the very ground of his own nature. So the first function then is to induct the young person into the society. And since the enclosed elementary idea speaks deeply to the individual's own spirit, he is deeply engaged in the society. And this is the kind of engagement that comes of identification with the society that comes from induction into a traditional culture. We don't have it. Our commitment to our society is from up here. People ask for reasons, you know. What's this war about? Am I going to go into it? I mean, you don't get that in the other kind of a system at all. Your society is you in some deep way. But then there comes a time in midlife, or post-midlife rather, when the society disengages you. Younger people who have come along can do the job better than you. Also, let me just tell you secretly, you've disengaged yourself. When everybody you meet reminds you of somebody you've already talked to. And everything you hear, you've heard before. You're ready for another show. And so the folk system disengages you, and you disengage yourself. But you've already been introduced through the folk to the elementary ideas, which are the marga, the path that leads you into your own self. First half of life, engagement. Second half, disengagement. First half of life, the folk idea, Völkergedanke, Deshi. The second half, elementary idea, archetype, the marga. And now, this is exactly Dante's rendition of this whole theme in his very interesting philosophical work, the Convito, or Convivio, two names for it. He gives the first 25 years of life as the years of development. He calls it adolescence or infancy. The human being is in a position of dependency until certainly 12 or 13 or so. And in our culture, when you go through for your PhD, you'll be in a condition of dependency and submission to authority until you're 45, and you may never recover. Some just don't recover, and you can tell by the number of footnotes justifying the assumption of authority is very difficult after the age of 45. So this is the first stage of life, and the virtues assigned by Dante are obedience, a sense of shame, not guilt. Those are two very different things. Shame is embarrassment because of failure of performance. Guilt comes from offending something that you regard as a high authority. But a sense of shame, that's a noble virtue, an aristocratic virtue, whereas guilt is not. A sense of shame, comeliness of appearance, and sweetness of conduct. To give this to my students in the 60s, I can tell you, was always a pleasure. They illustrated the opposite to all four of these. No sense of shame, no obedience, the most disastrous appearances, and destructive conduct. So that was that. Then we come to 25 to 45, which is the mid of life, maturity, with 35 at the center. Now, Dante's vision is assigned to his 35th year, the Good Friday to Easter of his 35th year. It's rather amusing. Dante was born in 1265, so he was 35 years old in the year 1300. And in that period, 1300 was thought to be the middle year of the history of the world. So it wasn't difficult for him to coordinate his individual life with the life of the universe, you see, and we don't all have it that easy. But this is the time then for the transition. And through the experience of the sense of the symbolism of the culture, to come to the knowledge of it, not simply following. And so from here on, we have people of knowledge. And the virtues are the virtues of the medieval knight. They're temperance and courage and love and loyalty and courtesy. It's a pretty good show. 45 to 70. Now, these are the years that in India are to be spent in the forest. This is the year of vanaprastha, leaving the society for the forest. Not so in the West. As a result, India, particularly in social and political life, has never had the advice of people who knew anything beyond what had been given. And so their political systems are in the same state as the political systems of 2000 BC. That is to say, despotism. And a revolution consists simply in a palace revolution to install another despot. But in the West, from the Greek world on, we have an evolution of institutions that comes from the advice of the aged, the wisdom of those who have lived on. They don't go into the forest. They remain in the society. And the virtues here, 45 to 70, are of wisdom, justice, generosity, and cheerfulness. I mean, you should be in such a condition that nothing can knock you down by that time. Then 70, and as I always think, you know, it's an unfortunate term that Dante has found for this. He calls it decrepitude from here on. And the two virtues here are looking back over the lifetime with gratitude. So important. No matter what your seat in the opera, it's been a great show. It really has. And looking forward to death as to a return home. That's not a bad schedule.
It is indeed a great show. Campbell has begun his story of humankind with a tour of our inner world, the psyche, the soul. Join us next time when Joe explores how the language and rituals of myth connect this inner world of spirit to the outer world of culture in which we actually live our lives.